welcome to Kidmissing TV. I wanted to do this review of the Amber Hagerman documentary on Peacock called Amber, the Girl Behind the Alert. So I took copious notes. I mentioned it over on Punky's World. Amber was abducted from Arlington, Texas on January 13th, 1996. She was 9 years old. She had just turned 9 on November 25th. Amber had a unique situation, which I didn't know about. And that is that one of the local news stations was following her mom and her brother, sort of documenting their lives on welfare, because they had gone from a battered women's shelter to the shelter helped them get an apartment, got them on welfare. Mom was in school working on getting off welfare. And there was a lot of footage of Amber. So they had footage, which they could release to the media, which makes a bigger impression than just a still photograph. And at first police thought, oh, she was targeted based on the documentary, and they said, but we haven't released it yet. They began filming about 5 months before she was abducted. Let's see. When Amber was abducted, her and her brother were riding their bikes at their grandparents'. And there was this like block that they could ride around, and it was perfectly safe, just like it would be here. And they rode up, a different area a little bit, because there was a ramp at the back delivery area of a by that time defunct grocery store, and they liked to ride on the ramp. Her brother got scared, chickened out, decided he didn't want to go down there, he didn't want to get in trouble, so he rode back home. And when he got home and Amber wasn't behind him, his grandfather said, "Where's Amber?" And he said, "She's at the ramp." So he put him in the truck, they went, they found her bicycle, and at the same time a man had dialed 911 and said, "I just saw a little girl get grabbed off her bike. I heard her scream. I looked," because he lived behind where the grocery store was. "I looked over and this person snatched her off her bike. Her feet never touched the ground. She was screaming." He had a black Ford pickup. And after the abduction, the news station that had all this footage put together a reel, and it was released. All of this were the seeds that were planted for the Amber Alert. And it was noted that the man left headed west, which meant he was headed back into town. They said he had to have had a specific place he wanted to take her, because he would have headed east, which would have been toward the highway otherwise, and especially if he wasn't local. He took her to a creek that was in the back of a gated apartment complex. Unfortunately, the back gate of the complex was broken, so there was access to it. Now, did this guy have a close friend or family member that lived there? Did he live there? Had he lived there before? We don't know. But he put her in the creek there after cutting her throat. I also wondered if it could be somebody on the periphery of the documentary, but they thoroughly checked them all out and they were cleared. Police investigated Amber's dad and his, I guess he was his best friend. They were both ruled out. Police felt her abduction was a high-risk grab. They wondered if this guy had in fact done this before, or would he do it again? Because he abducted her from a neighborhood, it was pretty high risk. Her body was found January 17th, 1996. Like I said, in a creek behind an apartment complex. It was 3 miles from where she had been abducted. And as I mentioned, did he live there? Did he have a relative that lived there? Had he lived there in the past? Had a relative or close friend lived there in the past? You know, something along those lines. The CCTV footage from the complex was not good. The man who found Amber was also eliminated as a suspect. There had been this horrible storm. And when the storm was over, he took his dog out, presumably to do its business. Dog started barking and ran straight for the creek. He's like, "What on earth are you doing?" And he went down to the creek and found the child's body. Sprinted back to the house, ran through the door and said to his wife, "Oh my God, I found Amber. Call 911. So she did. I can only imagine that his heart just sank because there'd been so much coverage. He knew what he'd found, and it was just, I can't even imagine. Her funeral was attended by over 2,000 people. Police carefully surveilled the service and the burial. They found nothing. It was frustratingly difficult because there were so many people there. A woman came forward with a partial license plate number and had claimed to have seen Amber banging on the rear window as if trying to escape the truck. She later admitted this was all made up in order to keep Amber's case in the media and keep police interested in Amber's case. She thought she was helping. But it was a terrible idea. It cost many, many man-hours, resources, and pissed police off, quite frankly, in their own words. The Amber Alert started in Arlington with a lady from Fort Worth. She saw the video of Amber as she was walking by her TV, and she's like, "Okay, that's interesting. Oh my God, that's what happened?" You know? And she thought, there's got to be something. And she called the local Fort Worth radio station and posited the idea. And it got to Arlington police and radio stations, and they came up with the Amber Plan and the Amber Alert. And in 1998, the first ever Amber Alert was used in Arlington, Texas, to find a 2-month-old baby who had been abducted by her babysitter. It worked like a charm. A man driving behind the abductor called 911 and saved the baby. Within weeks, Arlington police were receiving calls from all over on how to get an Amber Alert program started. In 2000, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children took it national. President Bush designated an Amber Alert coordinator for the United States. In 2003, he signed the Protect Act. for Amber. Amber's mother and brother are still searching for answers in Amber's case. They are both proud of what her legacy in the form of the Amber Alert has done for so many kids. Police are now testing for DNA in the evidence in Amber's case. They don't want to completely destroy it, but I think they want to try to use forensic genealogy in her case. Amber's brother has a daughter now. She was born on the same day, November 25th, and in the same hour his sister Amber was. That's amazing, actually. And I believe that's the Lord's work, by the way. Now, the documentary itself, I think they did an amazing job. It is so worth the watch on Peacock. So if you have Peacock, check it out. Excuse me. Because as I said, it's worth the watch. It truly is. All this information came from there. It's stuff you don't know. And I didn't go into every detail, but 4 pages worth. I'm so sorry. It's pouring, it's dark, and it makes you tired. So, the Amber Alert is now national. It's actually international now. They have forms of it in the United Kingdom. I believe they have it in Australia. They have it in Canada. But this was about teaching people about the person behind the alert, about Amber Hagerman. So I wanted to share that with you. I felt that it was important, and I'm so glad I sat and watched it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for joining me. Here at Kid Missing, we know how valuable the Amber Alert truly is, and how much that little girl's life meant. I just know we're gonna find out who the monster was. We're gonna put a face to the monster. I know it. And I'll bet you anything that forensic genetic genealogy is going to be the key. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for supporting this channel and my other channel. Please, give me a thumbs up for Amber. Please click the subscribe button and the bell for your notifications. And never forget this little girl who saved so many lives, who so many kids call their guardian angel. Thank you guys. God bless you. Bye-bye.